Greetings petrolheads, welcome back to Automation the Car Company Tycoon game. Now this week I'm going to be doing some showcases of cars that I've built in the meantime, starting with the AMW Mamba, which I, to be honest, haven't built last week. I have built that a little bit earlier, but in any case, the Mamba is a small entry-level sports car. It is mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, and yeah, let's get right into this. We got aluminium monocoque, double wishbone front suspension, pushrod rear suspension, and aluminium panels as well. Engine placement is transverse because that allows for slightly bigger engines on this body. Not that we need that though, because the idea behind the Mamba has always been a small, naturally aspirated and high revving engine to make decent amounts of power, and high revs is always very enjoyable to listen to when you're looking for a sports car, and to have that in a very reasonably priced sports car is something that appeals to probably a pretty unique niche. And as far as looks go, I mean, it looks like a sports car. Let's be honest. It's got that wing on the back. It's got an aggressive front styling, pretty aggressive headlights as well, with the dual white indicator arrangement as kind of LED stripes or something. The door handle is kind of a little bit hidden away, like not really hidden away, but kind of, it doesn't stand out. And these vents on the back are there for engine cooling. I didn't have enough for the bigger engine that goes into this from just these fixtures. And also, if you look at it like this, I like it from this perspective. Just the way that the windows flow, or the way that these vents flow along with the side windows, and also they suit to the wing. I think I've done pretty well with this design. And yeah, it is rear-wheel drive, as I said, and this, the 1 liter version, is the base version, the smallest engine version. We get an inline 4 engine, aluminium block and head, 999 cc, 5 valve per cylinder, no VVL, forged steel crank, I-beam titanium conrods, and lightweight forged pistons. Because if there's one place we don't like to save money in AMW, it's under the bonnet. And yeah, since we're revving the crap out of this engine, we need bottom end parts to support that. 12.2 compression ratio, 88 cam profile, so very, very aggressive here. And VVT on all cams. It is naturally aspirated, as I said. 9600 RPM limit. Fuel mixture could be a little bit leaner, could also be a lot richer though. Throttle per cylinder configuration on the direct injection system, because that makes for really good throttle response. And then as far as exhaust go, we got long tubular headers, one high flow freeway cat, one straight through muffler, because we don't need a second one. Because this is the car you wanna buy when you're like 18 or 19. You want something that sticks out of the crowd, that stands out from the crowd, something that's loud, something that's decently fast. It's not a slow car, this one. Something that looks unique, that drives like no other car in this price class. And yeah, that is exactly what you get here. So you get a manual 6-speed transmission, which in itself is kind of something that's you don't get anymore in very many cars. It's something that is dying out as of right now. Top speed is it's geared to have some overdrive in 6th gear. Spacing is relatively short. so we can reach 100 kilometers an hour in third gear. Geared LSD to improve traction. We have very little wheel spin. Again, the 1 liter version doesn't really have that much power anyway, but still. We got medium compound road tires on this base version, and a very sporty steering graph here. Alloy rims, 16-inch diameter, 225mm rear tires. Is certainly enough for this kind of power. But if you do want to drift it around, you might be able to get some slides. Vented discs, front and rear, easily enough braking performance to stop this car in any condition. We get a fully clad under tray, more wing angle up front than on the rear, because we have that big wing on the rear and we need to compensate for that a little bit. Cooling airflow is sufficient. We got standard interior and basic infotainment, because really, like, you don't need much more than that. And because this is one of those cars to say no to what most mainstream sports car makers are building, because, like, yes, they are building cars that are expensive under the skin, like with the monocoque chassis and with the expensive twin like dual clutch gearboxes and very advanced suspension systems and whatnot, and therefore that makes the car in general already very expensive, and for that reason they make it even more expensive by putting like premium interior in there with all the latest gadgets. Just look at McLaren and Ferrari, what they're doing, and also Lamborghini, because they think for a car of this price range, people expect that kind of thing. And since the Mamba is not in that price range, we can afford to kind of put a little bit less in there to keep the weight down, to keep the fuel economy at a reasonable level, and to also increase performance. And as far as the suspension setups go, we get standard springs with semi-active dampers and active sway bars. That'll increase our ride comfort, and it'll also help us increase performance while also making this car easy to drive on everyday situations. We got 50.7 drivability, 50.7 sportiness. Like, it doesn't get any closer to each other than that. Comfort is 29.3, even though we only have one muffler and we only have basic infotainment. So that speaks of pretty good ride comfort. Like the ride, how it handles bumps and whatnot is going to be pretty good. And prestige is not that high, obviously. And safety is 39.3, which is certainly enough. Now, as far as performance goes, 0 to 100 is 7.3 seconds, top speed is over 200 kilometers an hour, weight is less than 1,000 kilograms. You get really nice slow speed cornering, and we are also making downforce. And the time is 1:30.73 around the effort track. For the car that, well, we're gonna give this some markup. For a car that costs $22,000, this really is in the kind of price category that Top Gear would put into the reasonable priced car, a challenge or whatever you want to call it. So 22 grand. If you convert that into pounds, that's what, 16 grand, maybe something like that, 15 even. And for 15,000 pounds, you can have a car that does the effort track in less time than an E46 BMW M3, which is also a lot less economical and a lot more expensive to insure. And this is a new car, of course, whereas the M3 is getting old at this point. Like, you can only have it as a used car, pardon. And it's getting older and older, and it's certainly not getting better over time, like all used cars. Yeah, so that is the base version. That is what you get. And remember, for 22 grand, you get not only like downforce, you not only get a top speed of 200 kilometers an hour plus, you also get aluminum chassis and body panels, and you get pushrod rear suspension. Like, that is something unheard of in this kind of price category. That is something that not even a Lotus Elise has, and an Elise is, well, more expensive than this, of course. So next up is the 1.5 liter version. And the 1.5 liter version has a 1.5 liter engine. Similar tuning, but slightly lower revs, slightly less aggressive crane profile than the 1 liter. We're making 171 horsepower. Still got a 6-speed manual, but we're reaching 100 kilometers an hour in second gear now. The LSD, the limited slip differential is still the geared LSD. Same tire width, but we are now running 17-inch rims, as this is a little bit more expensive, not much though. And we still got a fully clad under tray, more than enough cooling airflow, well, just enough I should say. Same kind of features on the interior, and pretty much the same suspension tuning as well. But now that we have 170 horsepower, performance has increased, and 0 to 100 is now in 6.1 seconds, which is something that feels really fast in everyday situations if you're used to normal cars. .126.6 is its time, and like the 45 or 46 extra horsepower really do make a big difference in this car because it's so light. You can see 1,028.2 kilograms. That's nothing for a car of our age, in this day and age. 1,028 kilograms is, well, significantly less than even a Mini, because the Mini has grown bigger and heavier, and it now weighs like 1,200 kilograms or so. And this car weighs about 200 kilograms less than a Mini, and yet it has 171 horsepower. So and it can put all of those horsepowers down because of the mid-engine setup. So that's nothing to just sneeze at. Economy is not bad at all, 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers. I mean, it could be better with 171 horsepower, but then again, this is not an eco car, it's a sports car. And I did save the markup here. This will cost $24,000 and also 24,000 euros in Europe. So for 24k, again, you get the same thing that you get, the same kind of options you get on the 1.0 version, which includes like pushrod suspension, 6-speed manual, and like actual real downforce and whatnot. Also, you now get 17-inch rims and more power. So yeah, so not a bad deal, I would say. But then there is one more version, and that is the V6. Still looks exactly the same, but as the name would suggest, we now have a V6 in here. It's a 2-liter, still from aluminium, total overhead cam, 5 per cylinder, still a forged steel crank, I-beam titanium conrods, lightweight forged pistons, 90 cam profile, so very aggressive indeed, and then yeah, the 12.5 compression ratio is also kind of crazy. Throttle per cylinder configuration, still a standard intake, 13.8 fuel mixture, 9,200 RPM rev limit, dual exhaust on long turbo headers, and yeah, the same kind of exhaust setup here, plus free quality because you know Ramos exhaust and whatnot. So we're making 250 horsepower at 8800 RPM from a naturally aspirated 2-liter engine that still has some room left to go as far as tuning goes. That's what I call a V6 sound. Yeah, it still has some room left to go as far as performance goes. You can still get some more power out of this, but I wanted this round number, 250 horsepower, and I didn't want to go too overboard, like with the 290 horsepower or something, 2-liter naturally aspirated engine. That's not the kind of car that this is. It's not a kind of street going race car or anything like that. We still get a 6-speed manual here, but it will now no longer have overdrive because we want all the performance we can get. Therefore, we also have an electric LSD in here to improve traction off the line. We get sports tires on this one with 18-inch rims and still alloy rims. We get carbon ceramic brakes here. I should reduce the size of these, which will make it so we save weight, and you know the carbon ceramic brakes are certainly strong enough to handle that, because this is a light car and we don't really need brakes of this size. It's something I could change a little bit later, but in any case, we still got a fully clad under tray here, but we are now using different wing angles. Should have active wing? No, not in this car. I was just wondering, didn't I have active wing? But I remember, no, I didn't. The reason I have more wing angle up front than on the rear is because of this graph right here. This shows how the car behaves when it's steering at higher speeds. I wanted to kind of move this graph, the front downforce graph, the red line here, closer to the blue one, which is the downforce it makes on the rear. But as you can see, that will reduce both drivability and sportiness, so it's probably not the best idea to go for that. We still got standard interior and basic infotainment, because this is a driver-focused car to begin with. We still got pretty much the same suspension setup here, maybe slightly changed. But the big thing about this version, of course, is the engine, and it'll now do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.6 seconds and reach a top speed of 250 kilometers an hour. It has 1.25 Gs and 1.24 G of cornering, and that'll make it really fast around the track. One 20.96. So that is pretty much as fast as the McLaren SLR was on one of the early episodes of Top Gear. And it cost 30 grand. Whereas that McLaren SLR costs $500,000. So there you have it. This is on top of what the other Mambas have, which is push-rod suspension, aluminum chassis and whatnot. This has a naturally aspirated V6, which is a rare thing in this day. It has carbon ceramic brakes. It's got 18-inch rims. It's got basically everything you need on a driver-focused sports car. And yeah, it costs 30 grand. So right, what I want you guys to do now that you've seen this car and possibly even left your impressions on it in the comment section, what I want you to do now is I want you to build a rival for the 1 liter or 1.5 liter versions. So it should be a sports car that costs between $20,000 and $25,000 in Gasmia, and it should have at the very least a plus 5% markup, because remember, it is a sports car, not everybody wants a sports car. But other than that, other than the price and the fact that it needs a markup, I'm not going to restrict you really on anything. It doesn't have to be mid-engined, doesn't even have to be rear-wheel drive, doesn't need to be a high revving naturally aspirated engine. You can also go for a turbo engine. Like everything else is basically up to you, and I'm gonna leave you the email address where you can send in your final cars in the description below. And deadline is, well, Sunday this week, and on Monday I will start reviewing all the entries that I get. Depending on how many entries I get, I might go a little bit more or less in depth on each review. So yeah, build an entry-level sports car that costs between $20,000 and $25,000 with a plus 5% markup. That is the fan build challenge, and I will judge your cars based on some criteria like the main stats in particular, or the performance of it, the fuel economy, the running costs even. Running cost here is $21.73 on the 1 liter engine. So yeah, this is gonna be your challenge for this week, and I'm gonna be reviewing the resulting cars next week. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a like or a comment if you did. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.